A common question I get when working with classes and object-oriented programming in Ruby is why there has to be so much boilerplate code. Now, if you have come from languages such as Java or languages like that, then you know Ruby is actually very light on the boilerplate code side. However, there still are some pretty common patterns that we follow. So take for example this class of a purchase order right here. I already built it out and I followed a pretty standard type of convention here where I have a set of attr accessor type of attributes here. So if you are familiar with object-oriented programming in Ruby, then you know that this gets us a setter and a getter. So it allows us to set the client value, the total, and then to retrieve them whenever we need to. And if you come down to the test right here, you can see that we have the ability to set the client value, so we're changing the client value, and then in the next line we have the ability to get that client value. And this is pretty standard, and there are some kind of common conventions that you'll see I'm following here. I have an initialize method, and inside of this I'm taking in two attributes. I'm taking in the client and the total, and then I'm setting those equal to instance variables, and then I'm using those values inside of the method. All of this is pretty standard. However, these lines of code here from line 4 to line 9, sometimes it seems like there's not really a point in having to write all of this, because if you are adding attributes to a class, you know that you're simply setting, for in this case, client equal to client and total equal to total, just so you can use them throughout the method and so that you can take them in when you initialize a new purchase order. Well, that is where I want to talk about how you can use a very helpful gem that I use on a pretty regular basis to streamline this process. And the gem is called attr extras. And I'm going to pull up a browser window here, and we'll go to attr extras GitHub, and we can take a look at what this has. And so what this gem promises is it gives you the ability to take some boilerplate code out of the Ruby with methods like attr initialize. And so this is a pretty helpful method, and you can see right here that it gives pretty much the same exact example we gave, where we have in this case an invoice builder, and it's setting the invoice equal to the instance variable of invoice, and same thing for employee, and then it sets up attr reader methods, and all of this code really seems like you should be able to streamline it a little bit, and that's what this gem provides. Is it gives you the ability to do things such as streamline it so you can put all of that into a single line of code. In this case, they're using the p-attr initialize, which gives you readers and then allows you to initialize those values without actually having to create an initialize method. Now, if you are using an initialize method to do something such as setting default values or doing things like calling a method that sets up some things in your class, then this would not be the right solution. This is a good fit whenever you need to do something that is very boilerplate-ish, which is setting values, and they have all kinds of helpful methods here. And I definitely recommend for you to look up this gem and to be able to see which ones could be a good fit for you. They have ones like attr initialize, they have all of these ones, and one thing that I really like, and it's what we're going to use, is the attr accessor initialize. You could also just do attr. I personally like spelling it out just because I think that this is easier to read, and if I have another developer that's not really familiar with the attr extras gem and they're working on a project that I've worked on, then attr initialize may not make much sense, but this one actually would. So coming down, let's see exactly what this one does. So attr accessor initialize defines an initializer, public readers, and public writers. So essentially what this does is everything that we're doing right here. So everything that I'm doing in terms of setting up the adder accessors and the initialize and then being able to call those, I'm making it possible to do it by just calling that gem and that method. So if you have never used the gem before, then you're going to have to install it. So you can say gem install adder extras, and this is going to make it available to the current version of Ruby that you're working with. And now I'm going to go back in the file, and at the very top I'm going to say require adder extras. This is going to allow us to use each one of these items. And now the really cool thing is I can actually get rid of all of this code entirely, and now I can just say adder accessor underscore initialize, and depending on which IDE you're using, you notice how it no longer recognizes this as a valid method, and it's because it's not part of the core Ruby library, and so it doesn't realize that, but that's perfectly fine. It's exactly what we do want to use. So before we run the test, let's actually try to run this. So I'm just going to grab this code, and let's take a look and see if we get what we're looking for. So here I'm going to say PO for purchase order and see if I can call the total method. So I'm creating a new purchase order. I'm setting the client value. I'm changing it from Google to Yahoo, and then I'm calling the total. So here we are calling each one of those values, and just for good measure, let's also at the very end call that generate order method just to test the entire class. Now if I run this code, let's see if it works, and yes it does. So look at this. We were able to remove quite a bit of boilerplate code, and we were able to create a new purchase order, use a setter to change the value, call the total, so we're using a getter, and then we can call any of the methods inside of that class, and as you can see, it's using the updated values. So this is all working perfectly. And now if I run this, let me open up a new pane here. So RSpec March 8th. If I run this, both our tests should pass, and they are. We have 2 examples, 0 failures, and they're testing exactly what I tested there on lines 12 through 15. So this is working nicely, and hopefully you can leverage the adder access or the adder extra gem so that you can eliminate some of the boilerplate code in your own applications.